Yeah, so I'm watching the 15-minute chart, trying to figure out when's going to be a good time to jump out here. I'm getting some stronger sell signals on my 15-minute chart, and the 1 hour's looking close, like it's getting to a top, but nothing's been printed out yet. Yep, I hear you.
Yeah, old son, that's right. I even zoomed out on the daily. And if you look to the left on the daily and you see when we dipped below, 6K to 5.3 or whatever it was, once we came out of that V, it kind of just went sideways, then up, and then anybody who wanted to buy, oh, I'll buy on the next pullback, I'll buy on the next pullback, you were out of luck. So, I mean, what Barnabas is saying on short time frame, definitely. But I'm saying like my PTSD goes back to stuff like that, where it's like, you see the long short ratio, you go, oh, there's no shorts, there's no shorts. There's a lot of people who sold between, even between 12K and 6K. And if you're in cash, you're kind of sitting there. And when Bitcoin goes up, like if you really believe in Bitcoin longer term, like it's a very, very tough place to be, because you're like, oh, I want to be in on this when it really goes, and you're not in on it, and it's creeping up, and you're like, oh, we'll ever get in, and that's all FOMO.
What's going on, niggas? Morning, everyone.
Welcome back
Morning.
to the best of Bloomberg Markets Middle East. Hundreds of global business and political leaders
Earning.
in Abu Dhabi this week for the inaugural Milken Institute MENA Summit. Bloomberg's
God, I'm hungover.
to the Institute's chairman, Mike Milken.
Well, when you look at how young the region is, the UN has projected that there'll be 4 billion people living in Africa at the end of the century. And so the major growth in the world's population will take place in this region. It's a very young region. And so I have been visiting for 20 years.
I woke up to a message from RJ saying something about how someone closed a 750,000 Ethereum long. Does anyone know anything about that?
I didn't do it.
To the economy, but on the plus side, you have these attempts to diversify that, to some extent, seem to be picking up steam. On balance, are you positive or negative about the future of the Middle East?
Well, it doesn't look like it affected things too much either way. It's yeah.
He probably closed into all the shorts liquidated.
I always go visit their schools because you can see the future of a country in its schools. So when
And is there any updates from Binance? I know that they were just opening as I was going to sleep.
schools in the Middle East, and particularly the UAE now for almost 20 years.
Yes, you've been very
Any
busy.
updates to the Binance fund?
Discussing earlier. I want to segue a little bit to the markets, because we did have some drama earlier in the week, a big fall in stocks in particular. You've been in the financial space a long time.
KuCoin is down now.
What do you think happened, and how concerning is this week's decline?
I think everything's relative. If you're talking about an index at 5,000, a change of 1,000 isn't enormous. But where we were talking about changes here 4 or 5%, some of which has already been rebounded. I think we've come through a period of such stability, very little changes in interest rate for a long time, and that has reduced the volatility. But you've had a number of different instruments created,
right?
Okay, which they're unwinding, created a lot of volatility. But a lot of people look at it and think we're volatile. At this conference and around the world at our 250 events, we have something called the GCMAC. These are the global capital market investors, and there's still 30 trillion in the world, yielding less than 1%. So they're here, the insurance companies, pension funds, endowments, family offices, corporations, sovereign wealth funds, to figure out how they can meet their actual assumptions and where they can invest.
Right.
And you have record liquidity in corporations around the world. So these might create opportunities for them to invest.
Right. Well, I want to press you on this point, the low yield point. We've heard about the search for yield for years now. How difficult is that for investors? You, of course, come from a high yield background. High yield isn't looking so high yield at the moment.
Well, I would say, one, rates are relatively low. But as you go around the world, if you're in Japan, actual assumptions in Japan for corporations are around 2 3/4. And the chairman of the Milken Institute Global Capital Markets Group is Hiro from the Japanese pension fund, and their actual assumption's about 1.8. So if you convert that into US dollars, they're looking for 4 to 5%. And Canada 4 to 5%. And so you are able to achieve some of those rates, but it isn't necessarily the rates that have made things attractive. It's the lack of covenants. So for the last few years, you do not have maintenance covenants, and this has allowed private equity to flourish tremendously.
Right.
And in the United States today, private equity now owns more companies than are listed.
That's an amazing stat. So when you look at the proliferation of Cov-Lite, when you look at private equity valuations, does it look frothy to you?
Well, you have to look at the entire capital structure, and my work at Wharton in the late 60s was really focused on capital structure. So you might say you're paying large multiples, but then I'm able to borrow long-term borrowings at fixed rates. So you can always ask yourself, if I can borrow non-investment grade in Europe at 2 3/4, is that actually a liability or is that an asset? Long-term debt at that level. And so you have to look at the entire capital structure, and these low rates have substantially reduced interest expense, which flows to the equity holders.
Well, I have to ask, in that case, what happens to credit when rates start going up? And again, that was one of the things that seemed to have sparked the equity market sell-off on Friday, but we didn't necessarily see that fully feed through into credit, which was surprising to some people.
Well, I think you had in January actually a tightening of spreads. As governments increased in rate, you had little change in the high yield market. And we have to remember that 99% of all the companies in the world are non-investment grade. So
Right.
Oh, well, I think it's going to get a little boring now.
its high yield market yields 1 to 2% below what the U.S. market yields today. And so you're seeing a number of companies that's actually more attractive to finance in Europe or raise money in euro dollars than it is, or even pounds than dollars today.
Is that not an odd situation where you have credit spreads tightening despite a flood of supply?
Well, you generally have some historic movement. So in January, you have less issuance, year ends, financial statements, but it picks up by April and May, and February has seen an opening of those spreads. And as a result, the underlying economic activity is what ultimately people are looking at. Will you be paid back? What's going to happen in the industries? And throughout the world at the moment, the economies look strong.
I have to ask you a personal question now. David Benson has supposedly sent a plea to Donald Trump for you to be pardoned. Have you heard anything about that? Has Trump reached out to you?
No, we've talked a number of things with the president, but not that. We've been very focused on opportunities for growth, the relationship with Latin America, which is very important to the United States, but that has not been a topic we've discussed.
Up next, could the Saudi spending spree be good news for the nation's lenders? The CEO of LNMA Bank thinks it could. We hear from him next. This is Bloomberg.
Man, some of those smaller time frames are starting to max out and look like they're going to pull back, but yet I keep looking at that 4 hour and it's like, man, that 4 hour looks like it could just keep on going.
think we're gonna go to 95, 96. And then that's a bunch of resistance. It's horizontal resistance. It's that downtrend line. Daily middle B band.
Not really.
So we'll stall out up at 95, then come back down to like 88, 87 over like the next few days. We'll just go sideways, kind of do the same pattern that we did the last 3 days, and then go up, break out of the falling wedge, get above the middle daily B band, turn bullish again, and that'll take us to like 12K.
Welcome back.
And one
to
last
the best
pump,
of
guys.
Bloomberg
Do it.
Markets Middle East. The CEO of Ellen Mabank told Bloomberg this week that he expects Saudi Arabia's expansionary budget and higher spending on mega projects to help drive its growth this year. That
Try to
comes as
break
the lender
9,000
announced
for
fourth quarter
reals.
profit of 560 million riyals,
From
topping
your mouth
even
to
the
God's
highest
ear.
analyst estimate. I asked Abdel Mohsen El Faris how much better things could get for his business.
In my bank has been the fastest growing bank for the last 5 years. And we have achieved many new records during 2017 regarding the financial numbers as well product and services that we offer to our customers. I am very optimistic about 2018 and this growth inshallah will continue.
Right. Abdel Mohsen, when you look at the change in policy from the government, so they've moved away from the harsh austerity towards more of an expansionary budget for the new year. There's more spending, there's more investment. What is that going to mean in terms of boosting your bottom line? What kind of lending growth are you looking ahead to?
As you said, exactly. Government spending is very essential for the economy growth, and I am believing the budget for 2018 will have many opportunities for us, i.e. there are many mega projects going to be started, as well to finish those mega projects that started a few years ago. and we will play a part of the role to fund those type of projects.
Give me a sense of what the impact could be from the ongoing sell-off we're seeing in global equities and bonds, and especially perhaps the surging bond yields around the globe. Could that have an impact on your operations in any shape or form?
You know, we are focusing as Al Inma Bank in the local market more, and we are trying to diversify our type of investment as well our opportunities, and that's clearly from the financial. If you see our financing portfolio did grow very well by more than 12% in 2017. As well, our investment also did grow by more than 100% during 2017. And government start issuing Sukuk 2017, which also created opportunities, especially for those Sharia-compliant banks. And we invested heavily in the government of Saudi Arabia Sukuk.
I mean, here's an idea for you, and this has come from some of the analysts as well. If you look at your performance and if you look at your ambitions and you want to grow your branch network, is perhaps mergers and acquisitions a way
So we kind of had
go into
I guess,
the
a
new year with
smallish
some innovation? What do you
ascending
think?
triangle when we started to break through this last bit of
Already
resistance.
2 banks in Saudi Arabia announced they are looking
I'm thinking that's going to
seriously
end up
for,
being a support
merger,
line when this
and
price on, say, the 5 and 15 minutes start to fall back.
For us,
And
we
that
still
line's
have
somewhere
very
around
strategic to increase
like
our
8,600.
network. In 2017,
So if this thing starts to
we
fall
added
back on the 5,
14
15 minute, I would think
branches,
it's going to
as
go back to the
well as
8,600.
ATMs
I still think it's going to go up on a
which
longer
we
time
added,
frame. So
more
those
than
of you that were
90
like
ATM
not in a
2017.
position wanting to go
Today
long,
we have,
be watching for some sort of a low dip or something on the 5 or 15 minute. That might be your opportunity to go long if you feel like the price is still going to move north.
1,400. As well, we have more than 148 branches, and I believe we still have potential to grow even without merger or acquisition.
Now, if the rising bond yields are not an issue, and if the government is spending again, you've got Brent crude, even though it's declined a little bit, but still close to $68 a barrel, then is there anything that could stop your growth in 2018?
I think we have many opportunities, not only relying on the government spending.
At one point, I saw an inverted head and shoulders on the 1 hour and 4 hour, but I don't think that ever completed. The right shoulder never got deep enough to really be called an inverted head and shoulders.
Jump in and fund those projects, and this is
Yeah, man, still holding my long. I'm holding
Any change in
long.
the dividend payout for the next quarter?
Sounds like a old school country song. Hold along, little doggies.
About
Hold
5%,
along.
and we announced this year we are going to do 8%, and inshallah that will continue.
Up next, doubling down on Bitcoin. How the Winklevoss brothers
Uh-oh,
are
they're
keeping
talking about
their faith in
Bitcoin with the
digital
Winklevoss
currencies.
twins
This is
on
Luke.
Bloomberg.
Your modern software factory runs millions of lines of code through trillions of connections. You think I'm dramatizing? Think again. Application security, each line
How
of
many
potential
Bitcoins
breach.
did the
That's why
Winklevoss
checking
twins
code
say
before
that
you
they had
deploy
at
isn't enough. You
whatever
have to
point
check
it was back in the day? I don't know if they bought in
Yep,
more or what.
You do. When your app's in here, and when it's out here.
Was there news that they
I know,
cashed some
you
in or
can't be
something
in a
like
trillion
that? Maybe
places
at
at once.
20,000?
But we can.
And we're moving up on the 5 minute. That looks encouraging.
In the dialysis industry, profit is taking over the quality of care. Patients have bled out in the bathrooms, bled out in the parking lots. If we don't have the staffing that we need, we're basically set up to fail.
Learn more at kidneypatientsdeservebetter.com.
Well, no matter how much money you
Why
have,
do you need a modern software factory?
personally or outside
Hey,
of
do you
the
like that app?
Bitcoin
Not really.
sphere,
That's why.
at some
And
point you
that's a
gotta
big deal,
at some point you
because a
gotta like
bad
take some
experience
profit
is
off the
bad
cake.
for business.
I mean, that's just one of those
So
things
need
you
to
tend to do.
continuously
So I'm wondering
build,
if
test,
they
and
maybe
deliver amazing
news
apps,
had come out where they
predicting
took a little
problems
money
before
out or
they ever
something,
become problems.
or bought more.
Impossible, you say? Well, actually,
Oh, hey, I like this one.
I mean, they bought in long before some of the other big players and the forfeited coins from the FBI and all that stuff. And they had bought long before then. And it's like, yeah, it was cheap back then, so I don't know how many coins they had. You would have thought they would have taken a little bit off the table, you know, for their initial investment. Oh, is that what the Winklevoss people said? The twins, they said 320,000. They're getting ready to talk on Bloomberg. In case you guys want to check it out, it's bloomberg.com/live. I think you can watch a few minutes for free, and then they make you register with your email address.
Welcome back to the best of Bloomberg Markets Middle East. The head of the World Bank this week expressed doubts about the legitimacy of digital.
Introducing the new Infinity QX80. Infinity, empower the drive.
We remember Bitcoin when it was $8, so we're pretty happy with. I think the price right now is around $8,000. But we've seen this cycle happen. I've sort of lost track of how much it's happened, but probably over 20 times. There's a lot of excitement, new interests, new money entrants come in. It gets a little bit frothy, and then it sort of corrects back. But it always tends to find a floor that's healthier and higher than the previous one, and I think this is going to be the same.
Does the volatility concern you at all, though? Because it seems like it would be difficult to build business plans around an asset that is this volatile.
Well, I think the volatility is a function of it just being such a new global asset class. One of the things we've been working on is we launched a futures contract with the SIVO in December, and it really creates a two-sided market because now people can actually start to short Bitcoin, but it's still only about 6 weeks old, the contract, but it's a great step in the direction of price discovery and creating that two-sided nature in the market.
Do you think that futures contract has played a role in the recent price decline?
It's hard to say. I mean, ideally, it does definitely increase price discovery. So we're seeing a price that has more viewpoints and more institutions and sophisticated traders expressing viewpoints on it.
Do you have an idea of what would be a fair
Yeah,
price?
Beauty, I hear you.
So we've
sorry.
Yeah, we've sort of used the framework of gold. We think that when you look at the money characteristics or qualities of gold and why it makes it gold coveted, on the merits, Bitcoin matches or is better, is superior to gold in all those 9 characteristics. So the market cap of gold is 7 trillion. The market cap of Bitcoin, let's say it's around 100 to 200 billion. So we think that Bitcoin disrupts gold. I think it's gold 2.0.
Well, I've got a strong sell on the 5-minute, but that's a really small time frame for me. But yeah, definitely it would be a good time to sell if you're on a small time frame, or you're already long wanting to back out.
We think it's the most sensible framework for what the value of Bitcoin is and what it should be worth.
You both have sizable investments in Bitcoin, so I got to ask, how do you protect your Bitcoin investment from the prospect of hacks? Do you go full on analog?
So that's a good question. So initially, we actually built our own cold storage system, and it involved basically cutting up private keys and dispersing them in vaults around the U.S. But we've now since moved our assets into Gemini, and we basically, we eat our own dog food.
Can I ask you, are you still Bitcoin billionaires after the recent price move?
Where is the price right now?
It's a good question.
Could be all the way back up. We have a portfolio of cryptocurrencies. We invest in Bitcoin, invested in Ether early on, and a few others. So
we had an awesome answer when the reporter goes, "Hey, so are you still Bitcoin billionaires after the recent price drop?" And then they both look at each other and go, "What is the price right now?"
Bitcoin was $8. So as far as we're concerned, it's all gravy from here.
Oil suffered its sharpest fall in 2 months this week as data showed U.S. crude production surging to a record 10.25 million barrels a day. That vaults America into the elite of world producers alongside Saudi Arabia and Russia, and is raising concern on global supplies that could swamp demand.
15-minute looks like a good sell.
He's a senior economist of global research with Standard Chartered.
I'd like to start that off with the fundamentals really for the oil market.
But the 1 hour has not posted up anything, even though it's kind of toppish right now.
$61 a barrel for 2018, and that is still lower than prices where they are now. So I think there is perhaps some disconnect between the fundamentals and what we're seeing in terms of market pricing. Just to sort of walk you through the view from our commodities team, we are looking at global oil demand of over 1.6 million barrels a day in 2018. So in a sense, even accounting for the non-OPEC supply from North America in particular, which we expect to be around about 1.1
is my sound on my mic coming through?
We still think that on a fundamentals basis, the market will continue to be...
Yeah, I can hear you. Mic check, by the way.
Yep, you're good.
Exactly happened with the latest figures in our class.
I noticed someone saying that they couldn't hear anybody.
Exactly that right now. G-Space, hashtag BTV Space 5645. Because lovely perspective. U.S. output then eclipsing Saudi Arabia's and may even top Russia's this year. We've put the lines in yellow and blue for Russian and Saudi Arabian output. The question of the other side of this equation is the question around demand, and we did have some China data which shows that imports are still strong. Is that what's going to help OPEC this year, much more than the supply side is?
Absolutely. So, Yusuf, for us, really, the question about demand is something that I think markets will be taking more seriously. And I think the rise in prices from the start of this year, for example, has been driven by the demand story more than anything else. So if you look at global growth, for instance, we're forecasting 3.9%
I don't know about breaking a 7K channel or hitting a 6K channel from this point, but right now the support's at like 8200 maybe. So if we fall back that far, that'll be like the last support right there. If we break through 8200 and go down, then yeah, it could go really far down.
The demand story is likely to continue to play a significant role, and the market will be supported, as I said.
I'm just looking at comments from the Markets Live team, and they're saying that they see WTI joining the risk aversion party, sort of the one commodity that hasn't really got hit. But I want to seg to what this means for inflation and what this means for rising bond yields and ultimately implications for this part of the world. Are they in a much better place now, the GCC, with this tighter monetary policy?
Yes.
Hey, if you can't hear anybody, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, they can't hear you.
Remains for 2 25 basis point hikes in the first half of 2018. In the aftermath, of course, of the Tax Cut and Jobs Act in the U.S., we upgraded our U.S. growth forecast. And in that context, we think that the Fed will perhaps lean against higher growth in the U.S. So we do see the risk of potentially a third hike. But as I said, the base case...
It's also Friday / the weekend, so a lot of people probably not on as much, I guess.
You mentioned about bond yields.
Well, I was getting ready to speak on the mic saying, hey, here's what you need to do if you can't hear anybody. I can't hear you, you fool.
Jump on mic.
Essentially around about 2%. We have recently upgraded that, and we think that by the end of 2018, we're still maintaining our flat curve sort of forecast, but we're looking at somewhere around 235 for the end of the year.
Yeah.
Moving then to the second part of your question, what that means for the GCC. So we're really looking at tighter monetary policy across the board for the MENA region, with the exception of Egypt.
Yeah.
So not only perhaps the GCC in support of their fixed exchange rates, but even
logging into GDAX,
such as Jordan, for instance, and
yeah. And I want to pick up on that because Egypt is one of your conviction calls, isn't it? Or at least you're pointing the quintessential question, or posing the quintessential question as to whether these high yield returns on the government bonds are sustainable and whether the recovery story is going to have.
I'm gonna sit here and be ready just to see.
So Egypt has indeed been one of our sort of biggest non-consensus calls. I think particularly in 2017, we were calling for higher interest rates, even when the market, for instance, thought that inflation was elevated for cost pressures, and the central
What's
bank
going on, Solver?
actually respond to it. We have a very similar view for 2018 now.
I keep forgetting I don't need to key up to talk to you guys on the YouTube stream. I just have to key up when I'm talking into the Teamspeak.
Didn't realize, but I think it looks like we hit 9K last night, so temporarily.
We take a slightly contradictory view to that. We think the central bank will indeed ease in 2018, but that actually the easing will be far.
I've got a high on GDAX of 89.60.
The rate cuts to begin very early in the second half of 2018.
The other call that stood out in your research notes was Pakistan, and before the show even you were like, Yusuf, you've got to touch on the Pakistan story because it's been undercovered in terms of investor interest as well. Why is Pakistan the top highlight in your coverage right now?
I think, if you look at our region, if you're looking at Middle East, North Africa and Pakistan, to some extent Pakistan stands out to us as the one where growth is perhaps accelerating, even when we have seen more widely in 2016 and 17 for both oil importers and exporters in the Middle East, North Africa region slowing. Pakistan has seen an uptick in growth, and we're forecasting 5.5% growth for the fiscal year 18, accelerating even further going into 19. So I think from that perspective, given the size of the economy and the impact that has for pulling up the broader region, we do think Pakistan has a significant role.
Up next, property prices continue to drop in Dubai. Can anything halt the slide? We discuss that next. This is Bloomberg.
I love how people are mentioning Tron.
This is a tomato you can track from farm to pot, to jar, to table, and serve with confidence that it's safe. This is a diamond you can follow from mine to finger, and trust it never fell into the wrong hands. This is a shipment transferred 200 times, transparently tracked from port to port. This is the IBM blockchain, built for smarter business, built to run on the IBM cloud.
Alerts. Wouldn't you like one from the market? When it might be time to buy or sell. With Fidelity's real-time analytics, you'll get clear, actionable alerts about potential investment opportunities in real time. Fidelity. Open an account today.
AT&T Network Security helps protect business by sensing cyber attacks and automatically deploying countermeasures, keeping the world of business connected and protected. That's the power of AND.
And I was looking at the bitcoinity.org, where it shows all the order books. And it was like, for a second there, everything was like even on BitMEX and GDAX. It was like 50-50 buys and sells, but some of the asks have been removed now. I don't know, it looks like there's more bids stacking up.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Bitcoin on the higher time frames. Looks like we've done a lot of consolidating. Might be time to press upwards, hopefully.
Man, I've been holding this hedge like a boss. Come back down to Papa. Oh, there we go. Oh, wow. Holy fuck, I just said that and futures just fucking dumped. Holy shit.
Yeah, have you guys heard about this plan that Brock Pierce, the director of the Bitcoin Foundation, is trying to start his own crypto country?
Where's the country going to be located? A small tiny island somewhere?
On a barge.
On a barge.
Yeah, apparently he's buying 250,000 what is it, acres or hectares or some shit in Puerto Rico, and he wants to call it Perutopia.
It's in Puerto Rico? Well, shit. Yeah, so it'll be on a barge after a hurricane at least.
Don't you not have to pay capital gains tax in Puerto Rico?
He's the head of research.
Hell, that's
And the
stupid.
article
Me and my
says
cousin Billy Joe Jimbo,
yes,
we'd go down and get some
around
scrap boats and
6.5
string them
billion
together.
worth
We'd be
of
good. Make me a country.
EOS.
Values have been sliding for 3 years.
Whoa, one at a time, guys. And listen, Viper always gets fucking my priority. I'm talking. Excuse me. That's what Viper should say.
Man's right.
We know the government has plans to invest up to
The whole plan is that, yeah, I'll put a link up. Hold on.
projects to host the expo. We expect this will generate new jobs and therefore create demand for both residential.
Yeah, link in the box. So basically, if you're American, you can go there and you don't have to pay capital gains tax, but they have the defense of the American army, and they use the American dollar there too. So it's a great place. It's a great place for Americans to just fucking set up shop and create their own little fucking paradise where they don't have to pay any tax.
Dig it.
Wait, so very simply, what's causing prices to continue to slide?
Lack of demand, Tracy. We are seeing buyers nervous.
Is that another way of saying oversupply?
All in EOS.
Potentially, yes. I mean, we've got our own projections for Dubai. We've got 80,000 units due to complete by the end of 2020.
It's in Puerto Rico.
Forward the required amount of housing in Dubai over the next 3 years.
They should have done Greece or something.
Yeah, Irish. It's true. The bitches are pretty ugly, but like, if they end up making their own city, like full of millionaires, you've heard the saying, if you build it, they will come. Don't worry, man. The hot sluts will come.
Yeah.
Dude, and yeah, I used to live in the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico's just a hop, skip, and a jump away from that.
Darren, yes, the Citadel. It should be called the Citadel. That'd be amazing.
VI is fucking amazing.
For Middle East capital after the Brexit dilemma.
Absolutely. So London remains front and center in the minds of regional investors as a place to invest beyond Dubai, beyond the region. And since the Brexit referendum, we've seen the currency slide, which has helped boost London's appeal to Middle East investors. But actually, we've got a changing economic dynamic here in the region. You've got the introduction of taxes, you've got inflation rising, you've got a real squeeze on household finances. And there is a need to change the way and the mindset in which people are investing. So it's less of a generational investment, and it's more about seeking returns. So whilst we do see increased interest in property in London, we are also seeing interest in other asset classes beyond London, in the southeast, and perhaps even in Scotland, where we've seen a lot of office investment activity recently, for example.
Even from Middle East investors?
From Middle East investors. I mean, there is a distinction between high net worth individuals who are often ruled more by their hearts than their minds when it comes to investment.
Right. I can't imagine a high net worth individual from the Middle East will be buying an office building in Scotland. That's not what we're talking about.
No, that's not what we're talking about. So we are seeing a lot of family offices, for example, chasing higher yields in the regions, looking at office buildings, hotel investments, for example, and in particular industrials. So distribution warehouses in the UK are currently offering total returns of about 20%, which is one of the best yielding asset classes at the moment.
And anything outside of the UK, has Frankfurt become...
For those of you watching the live stream, I'm going to pretty much sign off here. I've learned to kind of get used to some of the schedules on the Teamspeak of when certain people come on and stuff, so I just bag off, no big deal. Had a good time streaming today. I got work to do anyway. Should be doing that rather than staring at charts.
Trying to identify next generation property hotspots. We know in London 50% of households are tenants, and 60% of those households are tenants by choice. So they're actually choosing to rent, opting to forego home ownership for a period of time for access to city centre living. And one of the hotspots we identified for the future was Maida Vale, which is home to Lord's Cricket Ground. And that actually sits
Still going to be hodling strong all night long.
And it's had over 200%.
The 4 hour just looks too good to walk away from. Gonna hang on, see where we go.
Tells us the demand is going to be quite strong in that market going forward.
And that's all we have for this edition of Bloomberg Market.
Yeah, most of you guys though that are on the YouTube, I believe, I don't know, maybe light up the chat, but type a 1 if you're inside the whale pool Teamspeak, type a 0 if you're not. Let's see, out of the viewers that are on here, how many are actually in the Teamspeak. I would guess that most of you guys are from the Teamspeak.
Cyber Monday expected to be the biggest shopping day in history. Holiday is kind of the Super Bowl of
That's just my guess.
The name of the game is to drive as much volume as possible. That creates an opportunity for cybercrime.
That little poll gave me an idea of how much
so
of a delay
the
there is.
kimchi spread on Finex to Korea is now back at 8%.
Seems there's about
when
a
that happens, we're normally
about a 20
bullish
second,
because
20 30
it
second
indicates that
delay,
there aren't enough
which is pretty
Bitcoin
typical
on
for
Korean
YouTube.
exchanges to satisfy local demand.
But yeah, there's some
quite a good
of the
medium-term
moderator
growth
guys that are in
I
there,
find.
and they don't really like when other people talk over them. So rather than ruffle any feathers, I got other things I could be doing, I guess.
Fuck me, Ripple up 31%. What?
Wow, still not touching that shit. Frightens me to death.
Fuck, I had an idea. To go long on there. I was talking about it earlier, motherfucker. I wasn't watching.
Holy Satoshi. BCC is down to $21 million market cap.
Yeah, look, Ripple USD just was bullflagging out of that downward wedge that it had. It just broke up out of that
dump,
horizontal.
It was looking really toppish on the 15 minute.
If you drop
the 1 hour was kind of getting toppish, so I just see that the 4 hours got a lot more room, so I don't know. We'll have to see.
Who was saying what about market 21 million market cap?
BitConnect.
Even on the 1 hour, I mean, we are getting toppish on the
dropped
price
from
stochastics.
a multi-billion-dollar market cap to $21
TDI is getting
million.
up top, but
okay.
as far as my
Bitcoin
signals
Cash
and stuff, haven't really seen a hard sell signal yet.
The fake Bitcoin Cash. The fraud.
Keeps inventing new amazing experiences.
Yeah, because if you go to Bittrex, right, BCC chain, it trades Bitcoin Cash, or Bitcoin Cash trades as BCC.
It's because of how he films, how he creates his works, the attention he pays to the lighting, to the camera work, to editing, to sequencing.
Striving for communication that goes beyond the limits of language.
Henry works with music, with videos, drawings, photography, with many things.
His exhibitions challenge the viewer to question politics, music, and history.
He trusts the intelligence and the ability.
Oh, they want an update, Viper, on Monaco.
My way is to hit for something that I don't know yet how to resolve. So there will be a risk taking.
Yeah, I got a lot of Monaco myself, so I'll tell you, nothing probably until the cards get issued or money 2020.
Yeah, there's that email you got last night. That's bullish as fuck, man.
Art can take a variety of forms.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you joining in on the YouTube, watching the live stream charts.
Beta testing, bitches.
I'll catch you some other day in the Whalepool Teamspeak or on stream. Take it easy, guys.
One of the reasons I got interested in sound and music.
I think Flipper had to leave. There was too much fucking shit in here. He had to cool down in the below quiet.
So that it's for the viewer and the listener.
Yeah,